everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Chloe Walsh, and today, since it's Couples February, I am very excited to welcome this very special guest on our show, Dave Walsh.
Hey, thanks, Chloe, for having me. How are things going with you?
Great. Oh, yeah, so which card will we be talking about today?
Well, I decided that when you and I were talking about coming on the show, I thought it would be really neat if you and I would talk about the new Smeagol card. Right?
Yeah.
And so when I did this, I asked you which card you think we should talk about, and what card did you say? Smeagol!
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because Smeagol only just came out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I really liked Smeagol. And just to give you an idea of what Smeagol is a 3 threat cost lore hero. He's got 2 willpower, 2 attack, 2 defense, and 3 hit points. And
2 willpower, guys.
He's got the trait Gollum, which is one of the only cards,
Gollum
cards in the deck, or in the card pool. And he cannot have attachments, and during the setup, you shuffle 2 copies of Stinker into the encounter deck.
Stinker? Who's Stinker?
And then the response is, after you travel to a location, raise your threat by 1 to draw 1 card. But then after Smeagol gets...
eats those rabbits in his hand.
Eats those rabbits in his hands. That's right. When he eats those rabbits in his hand. Actually, if you draw a Stinker, that makes him flip over to his Gollum side.
What's Stinker?
Stinker is the encounter cards that you're supposed to add to the deck. See, there's a copy of Stinker right there.
Oh.
Okay. So you add that card to the encounter deck.
Oh, he's very
So that's Gollum. That's a picture of Gollum.
Wait, that's Gollum and that's Stinker?
No, Gollum is called Stinker. This actually, Stinker actually represents that part of the Lord of the Rings book where Sam and him get into a fight with each other.
Oh, okay.
In Shelob's lair. Oh. So when you flip him, you have a Gollum ASMR Gollum. You end up having a Gollum as an enemy.
Yeah, enemies.
And Gollum as an enemy has 50 engagement costs, has 2 threat, 2 attack, 2 defense, and 3 hit points, just like it's very consistent with his hero side. And he's immune to non-Gollum card effects, which is very awesome. And Gollum always engages the first player, so that makes him travel around the board if you're playing multiplayer. And so when he's defeated, you flip him over and turn him into Smeagol. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Back to Smeagol. So it's like how they were taming Smeagol in the movies.
Oh, the movies, yeah.
Right? When Sam and Frodo were trying to beat him into submission. And then eventually they did. Not beat him physically, but like just make sure, beat him like
win.
Overcome him.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And so that they could because he knew the way into Mordor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's your favorite part about the card Smeagol?
Well, I think my favorite part about the card there's 2 parts that I totally love.
Okay, what is it?
Okay, the first part is that his threat is at 3. His threat cost is at 3. That makes him the lowest threat cost hero in the game. And we haven't seen a threat on a hero this low since the Foundations of Stone pack came out and Spirit Glorfindel came out. He had his threat cost of 5, which is low. This guy is even half of that, just about. Rounded up, right?
Yeah.
You know about rounding?
Yeah.
What's half of 5?
2.5.
Right. And then when you round it up?
3.
Right, okay.
Because you always round up. Like, if it's a 5, you round it up to the high. Like, if it's 25, you round it to 30.
Right. And so that 3 is crazy amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
And then also the other thing that's crazy amazing is he allows you to draw a card for one threat. And so if you travel to a location and you raise your threat by 1, right, you get to draw that card, and it's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy good, especially when you're trying to explore locations through the whole game. If you have a deck specifically set up to do that. Can I ask you a question, host of Card Talk?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was wondering what you think is your favorite part about this card.
The rabbits in his hand.
Yeah. Do you know what they call those rabbits in his hand?
No.
I think they're called a brace of conies. Did you know a brace is a word that describes two of something?
I don't know.
There's actually a card in the game called Brace of Conies. And so he goes and gets at those conies.
What about Gollum?
What about Gollum?
He's very he's He's just very like that.
What is he like?
He's like an angry dog.
He's an angry dog. And that's funny because that's kind of what he is in the movies. He's not really a pet. That's like, kind of a rude thing to say. Yeah. He's all crazy and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the thing that is different and unique about this card. And that's also representative of him in the game. Or in the books, is that he's a good guy and a bad guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah, because he's in the movies, he's switching over from the one side, and then he's like, no, or whatever. Yeah. I think.
Do you know what he calls the ring?
My precious.
Yes, my precious. And you know what?
What?
Without getting too much into detail,
yeah.
I think that if you were to say what Gollum is a good guy or a bad guy, I would say that he's neither, and that the only thing he serves is the ring. I think that the ring is probably the most important thing to Gollum ever. So he's doing everything he can to get the ring back. So because of that, I think that he's a hero, but he's only a hero because he's doing good things to try to get the ring back. And then he's a bad guy, an enemy, also because he's doing bad things or bad guy things, not because he's a bad guy, but because he really wants to deal with having the ring. He just really wants the ring back. So all of the things that he does, I think he is probably the guy that is most motivated by the ring.
Yes.
Maybe even more than Sauron.
Precious. Oh, wait, isn't it the ring of Sauron?
Well, Sauron owns the ring, yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was really good. This card actually came out real recently. It came out in the Shadow of the East, which is the most recent and last deluxe box that's coming out in a long time. You know what I noticed too? I've said this before, but I'll say it again.
Okay.
And see if you agree with me, because you're kind of an artsy girl, right? You like to draw and do things.
Yeah.
Is notice that Hero Smeagol, the artwork is bright and sunny.
It is. Yeah.
And then when you turn it over, what happens to the artwork?
I realize it's it's very pretty. It has a pretty landscape.
Yes.
In Smeagol.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very not very appealing.
Yeah, it uses a lot of grays and yucky colors.
It's not very appealing.
Right.
It's kind of very disappointing.
Yeah.
It's very disappointing.
Well, is disappointing the word, or is it more like it's just very dark and yucky?
It's a rainy day, Dad. Which is also very disappointing.
It is a rainy day on there.
See, once you get a rainy day, isn't it very disappointing? See, that's what I'm trying to say. It's very disappointing.
Yeah, I guess. So, just a couple of things that I have noticed about using this card is that if you're playing solo, with this card? Do you know do you know what that means? Play solo?
Yes, it means you're playing against the game. No, you're playing by yourself.
Right. How do I play the game?
By yourself.
Right.
On the floor in the living room.
Oh.
While we're watching
there you have
football.
it. I'm being exposed.
Yeah. And then Mom's watching TV or on her computer.
Right. And so when you're playing solo, that low threat and that card draw is awesome because you don't have a lot of space in your deck to do a lot of things. So to have a hero that has low threat and card draw really saves you some space in your deck. So yeah, so I think that the fact that this guy kind of takes care of two things that you need in your deck is probably his strongest property. The drawback is that he can't have attachments. Mm-hmm. Do you know what we mean by attachments?
No, I have no idea.
Attachments are like equipment in the game, or like special abilities that he can have.
Kind of like trainers and like energies and stuff.
Right, yeah, if you're playing Pokemon.
Yeah.
So, so if you want to like put armor on him, guess what he can't do?
He can't have armor.
I know.
Which it kind of sucks because he has like nothing on him at all.
I know, and
other than that weird little like skirt looking thingy.
Yeah, I think they call that a loincloth.
It's a kilt.
It's a kilt?
Yeah.
Is Smeagol Scottish?
Yes, he's like, ding! Oh, that's Irish. The card went flying.
The card went flying. Sorry.
Oh no, I want it.
Right. So what else do you want to ask about Smeagol or Gollum?
What is your favorite part about him in the movie? Like, what's your favorite act of him?
So I think
Gollum,
so I think Gollum was well portrayed in the movies. Mm-hmm. I think that the character that he is in the books is very true to who he is in the movies, and I think that Andy Serkis did a really great job playing him. Mm-hmm. In both The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. I think my favorite thing about Gollum in the movies, and it's not really about Gollum, but it's a particular scene that he's in where he's fighting with himself. Mm-hmm. There's a scene where he's going back and forth
by the tree. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like, and behind the tree and being like, no.
And they shot that part of the movie really awesomely because he was on one side of the tree and he was like, "This is great," or not. This is great. He was like, "This is something that we need to,
my precious.
Right, we need to help these guys out." And then he went to the other side of the tree, and it's actually turned out when you look at it really closely, mm-hmm. he's looking one direction in one side in one of those things when he's like the hero guy, and then he's looking in the other direction when he's the enemy and the bad guy trying to talk himself out. So I think that particular thing.
I don't like that. That's.
I think that particular part of the movie was really well shot and really shows how there's the duality of who Smeagol is. Did I already ask you what your favorite part of the card was?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, now my favorite part of the movie.
Oh, what's your favorite part of the movie?
Yeah.
How about Smeagol being in the movie? What's your favorite part of Smeagol in the movie?
I liked, since this is like the only, I liked when he, I liked the same part you like. That wraps up our show. Thank you very much, David Allen Walsh, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Chloe, for having me. This whole idea of Couples February is amazing, and I'm so glad that you invited me on the show because you're one of my favorite people ever, and I'm so glad that you and I can record this as a couple. You're one of my valentines. Yeah. So thank you so much, Chloe Walsh.
Okay, guys, join us next time as we talk about more cards from the game. Bye! Hopefully that didn't hurt any headphone users back in the headphone world.
And if you're interested in finding this or any of our back episodes of Card Talk, Feel free to search YouTube where you can find our flagship video episodes with the username Card Talk 2018. Or you can search the RSS feed cardtalk2018.libsyn.org for our extended audio versions of our podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook at Card Talk 2018. And if you have any questions for Grant or myself or for both of us, feel free to email us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.